I've been seeing something like this floating around the internet for a while now and decided it was time to try it. First thing I did was measure the size of the holes that I'd need to cut in it. I already had some magnets laying around, so I got the size off them. My plan was to connect them up. I could have used a pin, but I already had the magnets, so that's what I went with. The idea here is pretty simple. It's basically making a really wide T-track where a hose adapter slides through, using the magnets to connect it in place. I wound up only using 2 magnets diagonal from each other. This was really enough to hold it in place. It wasn't like the hose was going to be moving on its own, and if I could barely move it, I know the hose could. I didn't do some amazing gluing job here. I really just needed it to stick together. I was going to put it in with nails or whatever once it was dry. This isn't going to be taking a lot of force, so. Right after I started this process, I wound up getting COVID, so some of this got delayed and some of the footage I actually recorded, for some reason I just deleted, thinking I had already saved it. The one thing I didn't do on this was I didn't measure the screw head for the Craig screws and just guessed 1/4 inch, which was pretty lazy. And the idea here was to basically have this thing screwed down, have a slot on the inside where I could screw through it and just tighten the hose in place. That way it didn't pull out. It fit pretty snug, but I just didn't want it to be able to pull loose easily. As you can see here, I tightened it down and it didn't pull out, so that's what it needed to do. Here I'm gluing up the mount with the wall. Again, didn't use excessive glue or anything. It didn't really matter that much. Also, I only glued one end of this. The reason for only gluing one end is if I needed to take out the slide adapter, I just unscrew the end and slide it out. Here's a closer view of how the hose clamp worked. Basically screwed in the other side to close the gap. I've loved this shop vac, and it's been a great one for what I'm using it for. Probably had it 20 years, but it's just too loud. So I broke down and bought a Fein or whatever it's called. Here's the difference in the decibels for them. As you notice, there's not a huge decibel difference, but the frequencies of the thing are way different. Where my old one sounded like a jet airplane, the new one kind of sounds like a muffled jet airplane, so it's better. This worked pretty well, and it's really going to help to cut down the clutter on that side of the shop. It's a little more streamlined and organized. When I get around to making more of these screw clamps, I'll wind up just drilling a hole through it and putting a nut and bolt. That'll keep it from splitting like that. As usual, if you've made it this far, like and subscribe.